Since Overwatch 2 is going 5v5, all quote-unquote normal comps in Overwatch will be in some way, shape or form revamped. So in order to celebrate the compositions that Overwatch 1 gifted us, I thought I'd do a tier list of the most notable 2-2-2 compositions in Overwatch 1. There'll be 10 compositions, and I'll be rating each comp based on 3 main factors, with 2 subcategories in each of them. The first factor is how fun the comp is, both in terms of how fun the comp is to coach, and how fun the comp is to play. The second and third factors will be skill and value respectively, with both factors being subdivided in terms of their floor and their cap. Here are the definitions of a skill and value floor and ceiling. Ideally, the best comps will have a medium skill floor, a high value floor, with high skill and value ceilings. Also, as a massive disclaimer, not only are these placements my opinion, but some of these factors will matter more than others, i.e. value ceiling will probably be the most important factor out of the 6, but if the comp isn't fun to play or coach, or if it's ridiculously easy to play the comp at a competent level, then the comp won't rate very highly, no matter how good the comp theoretically is. Starting off in F tier, we have the good old pirate ship comp. This comp predominantly features Bastion, Symmetra or Tracer, Sigma, Orisa, Baptiste, and Mercy or Brig. There's really no redeeming quality to this comp. The best case scenario I can see is some quirky Bastion Symmetra comp that is both fun to coach and play from my own experience, and can be effective against unprepared teams. However, those are far and few between, with good old plans completely dismantling this comp, reducing its value cap. Its skill cap also isn't great, as rotations are really going to be the main skill issue with the Bastion Symmetra variation of this comp, and since Bastion is Bastion, the skill floor is somewhat low as well. However, it's somewhat easy to get value out of this comp, especially in the lower ranks, hence the value floor is quite low, which is good news. However, compared to all the comps, this pales in comparison to them. In total, the fun factor are both Ds respectively, the skill factor is F and E respectively, and the value factor is C and F respectively. In E tier, we have the pulled pork composition. This comp features Hog, Orisa, Baptiste, Mercy, Ashe, Echo, and or Sombra. If you're wondering why it's called pulled pork, it's derived from Hog himself and Orisa's Holt. As it's a bunker comp, likewise to pirate ship, there is a limited fun factor for the player, but it is easier and a bit more fun to coach on average. Hog is really the only hero that might be a bit of an issue to coach in coordinated play, but in ranked, he can actually be fun and refreshing. With respect to the skill floor, I'd say it's somewhat below average, with Mercy, Baptiste and Orisa being somewhat straightforward to play. The skill ceiling is also pretty limited, especially compared to the other comps in the tier list, and some of this is due to Hog being in the comp. The value floor though is decent considering how strong Hog is at his base level, whereas the value ceiling is definitely too low and this Hog Orisa duo is pretty outdated. In total, the fun factor gets 2 Ds again, the skill factor gets 2 Es respectively, and the value factor gets a D and an E as well. Moving on to the D tier, we have Talon Dive. This comp features Winston, D.Va, Sombra, Tracer or Reaper, and Lucio Moira. Now let me tell you, this comp is not fun to coach or play at all. Ask any coach and most of them, especially professional ones, will express their hatred for this comp specifically. Additionally, it's very easy to pick up and play at a competent level as you essentially just rush a target, but thankfully, the skill ceiling is quite high as teams start to understand the tempo with their comp and that each hero has mobility. The value floor is also incredibly low as the comp is very strong when played at its base level, and the value ceiling is very high when the comp is played at a professional level. Talon Dive isn't that bad at pro play and it can be very hard to master at the highest levels. In total, unsurprisingly, the fun factor gets 2 Fs alongside the skill factor getting an F and a B respectively, as well as the value factor getting an A and a B respectively. Keep in mind, this comp does have Moira in it and the comp is only run on certain maps, more specifically short sightline ones, meaning that the ceilings are going to be limited. Moving on to C tier, where we've got more than one comp this time, we have Double Sniper. This comp mainly consists of Orisa, D.Va, Hanzo, Widowmaker, Mercy and Zen. This comp is again a bit middle of the road. It's a bit more fun than Antidive Spam, but it's certainly not fun to play if you're just going to get mechanically diffed. The skill cap is arguably quite high, but also quite limited, since the reason why this comp is pretty much extinct is because of Tracer. I recommend watching this video done by Lucid to understand why. This also means the value cap is limited as Double Sniper is only really viable on long range maps such as Savannah or Junkertown. The skill floor is also quite high due to the mechanical restrictions of most of these heroes, but you don't get much value out of this comp at its base level. In total, this comp gets 2 Bs for its fun factor, a D and a B for the skill factor respectively, and 2 Ds for the value floor and cap. Next up, Antidive Spam. This comp primarily has Ryan, Zarya, McCree, Torb and Brig and Bap. The whole purpose of this comp is to basically counter any fast dive comp, particularly Talon Dive, but this comp struggles at pumping out consistent damage at longer ranges and also greatly falters against any well-oiled brawl comp, giving it a medium value ceiling. It's somewhat fun to coach and play as well, alongside a decent skill cap and value floor, paired with a low skill floor. As a result, this comp gets 2 Cs in the fun factor, with a D and a C for the skill factor respectively, alongside 2 Cs for the value factor. Ending off the C tier, we have Cyberdive. This comp primarily has Winston, D.Va, Genji, Sombra, Honor and Brig. This comp's greatest strength is that it's pretty fun to play and to coach, but the skill floor is a bit too high considering it's a dive comp and not many people know how to play Sombra or Genji correctly. However, the value floor and value cap are both somewhat low, and considering the quite high skill cap of this comp, you might as well spend time playing and maximizing your skill in other comps higher up the tier list, as you'll just receive more value. In total, this comp gets 2 A's for the fun factor, with a D and a C for the skill factor, and 2 D's for the value factor. Starting off in B tier, we have Double Shield. This comp consists primarily of Orisa, Sigma, Echo, Tracer, Brig, and Baptiste. Now I know many of you don't like playing Double Shield, but it's honestly the only comp's true weakness. In terms of coaching, most coaches enjoy coaching anything that isn't brawl related, as you can actually see what's going on, and the comp is also in a fairly decent state right now, especially considering the different variations of the comp you can do, giving it some versatility. The skill and value floors also seem fair, with the comp not being too strong at its base level, nor is it too easy to play at a competent level, but also features a high skill ceiling with a decent amount of potential value from the comp. Certainly higher than Cyberdive, I'd argue, as it's not totally ult reliant. As a result, the comp gets an E and an A for the fun factor, a B and an A for the skill factor, alongside a C and a B for the value factor. Next up we have Double Bubble. This comp consists of Winston, Zarya or Diva, Echo, Tracer, Brig and Ana. To sum up this comp, it's overall pretty solid, but it's just outshined by the 2 remaining comps at the top. Zarya is also a bit outdated as teams learn the importance of high ground, which Diva can contribute more to than Zarya, as explained by Lucid here.
Zarya is kind of useless until she accomplishes 2 things. Number 1, she has rotated into the fight. Diva can just fly in. Diva can use defense matrix. Diva can look to fly up to some high ground. Diva can stabilize a bit and then eventually engage with Winston. But Zarya can't access high ground that well. Zarya has no mobility, and also, let's say your Zarya's rotating to fight, but your Zarya doesn't make it in time, and your monkey has to oh, I'm out of HP, I don't have any matrix, I don't have any peel, have to jump out. Well, they just bum rush your Zarya. Your Zarya can't escape. Your Zarya probably has used self bubble as well, to be honest, but that's not the only problem with Double Bubble. More importantly, Zarya needs to have high energy. If you're gonna play Zarya over Diva, you better make sure that your Zarya has energy to work with. A Zarya without energy, especially after the nerfs, is useless.
In total, this comp mainly gets Bs across all 6 factors, with the caps being particularly impressive. The second to last comp is Brawl. This comp consists of Ryan, Diva, Symmetra Mei or McCree, Lucio and Baptiste. Since this comp has so many strengths, I'll save time by going over its weakness, the main one being how fun it is to coach. In Symmetra Mei Brawl mirrors, it's often very hard to decrypt what's going down, but honestly, I personally enjoy coaching Brawl into any other comp that isn't Brawl itself. The comp is obviously very strong with a high skill and value cap as shown by the Atlanta Reign reaching finals, showing off how good the Reign's Brawl actually is. The value floor is also very strong, but the skill floor might be a bit too low, but that factor is pretty insignificant when judging the comp holistically. In total, the comp gets an A and a B in the fun factor respectively, a B and an A plus for the skill factor, and an S and an A plus for the value factor. Finally, last but certainly not least, we have Poke Dive. This comp is made up of Ball as the first tank, Sigma, Diva or Zarya as the second tank, a mixture of Ashe, Echo, Sombra or Tracer, and Brig or Mercy with a Zen. Just off the bat, you can see how versatile and adaptable this comp is, which adds to how high the value cap of this comp really is. Honestly, the flaws of the comp are the only issue, with the skill floor being a bit too high for new players and lower ranked teams, and the value floor being a bit too low, especially compared to Brawl, as Brawl is way easier to get more value out of at the lower ranks. But with everything considered, it's pretty close to the perfect comp. It gets 2 S's for the fun factor, a D and an S for the skill factor respectively, and a B and an S for the value factor. Well, that's the video. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and if this video helps raise your IQ, be sure to share it with your friends to also raise theirs. Until next time.